basically, instead of focusing on how horrible this person is being to you, focus on what you're actually doing to create this toxic dynamic between you and this person, and how you can shift your own energy to change the dynamic of the relationship into actually connecting to you and who you are and what you want to see in your reality. Peace, what's up everyone? This is Esaia Mystic, and I'm back with another message to help you free your heart and soul. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. This is the place where you can find tons of content on spiritual empowerment and feminine wisdom. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my own journey in dealing with toxic relationships, and I'm also going to be talking about toxic relationships in general, how they evolve, and also how to heal your divine feminine energy within encountering or being in a toxic relationship. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so the most pivotal and powerful point in my life was when I got into a extremely narcissistic and toxic relationship. This relationship literally brought up so much of my triggers and my pains, and also rehashed a lot of dark memories from my childhood that I didn't even realize I was still holding on to. And when I got into this relationship, it literally turned my whole world upside down. I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't understand what to do. I just knew that I was really struggling in this relationship that was draining. It was extremely draining. And this relationship honestly was the cause of, when I first started my YouTube channel, it was the cause of kind of like, just my inconsistency in the beginning, and just really the pivotal point of me realizing that there was a lot more that I needed to learn about myself. There was a lot more that I hadn't already mastered as far as, spirituality, and especially my feminine energy. So when I got into my toxic relationship, in the beginning, of course, it's always butterflies and roses, and it's always magnetizing in the beginning, and then there's things that come up. There's things that come up that trigger us. There's things that come up that spark something in us. And I'm gonna get into really just how all of this works and how it comes up and what it looks like. And the reason I was really inspired to talk about this is because when I was going through my really coming out of that toxic relationship, I realized how many other women actually experienced this, and how many other women were actually going through the same things that I was going through. The verbal abuse, the emotional games, the gaslighting, everything that just kind of puts us into this place of victimhood. I realized that I was not only, the only woman going through this, but I also realized that there are a lot of women going through this, especially women who look like me, right? Afro-Indigenous women. I'm like, so you mean to tell me like this is just normal? Like we just out here getting abused and talked down to and cheated on and, you know, treated like the scum of the earth. And this is just kind of normalcy. And of course, it's not normalcy for everyone. However, I realized on some level, whether it was like really intense abuse or whether it was, you know, just little subtle things that highlight a devaluing of the woman and of our feminine energy, it was very real. It was very real. It was very present, and it was very common. And that was when I realized that there was, you know, something going on here, and it didn't sit right with me, because not only did I realize something wasn't right, but I also realized that a lot of the women I were coming across were holding on to this kind of energy where they felt like either this energy didn't exist and, you know, it didn't apply to them, or it always just felt like it was the women that were really holding on to this energy signature more so than the men that I was coming across, right? And so, of course, there are, you know, there's things about the masculine energy that I'll get into in another video, but for the sake of this video, women are definitely holding on to some energy signatures and frequencies that are keeping them stuck in these loops and cycles of abuse with men and these quote-unquote narcissistic relationships with men. And these are some of the things that I've found that creates these relationship dynamics of toxicity, and also some of the key and pivotal things that I did to really begin to heal and empower my divine feminine energy. So toxicity in relationships come from our connection to ourselves and how healthily we are connected to ourselves, or how unhealthily we are connected to ourselves. So basically understanding your connection to self, or having a disconnect to yourself. Because see, when we want to understand relationships, of course we're going to be dealing with the astrological signs of Aries and Libra, because Aries rules the self and understanding the self, and mirrors Libra, which is all about relationships. So anytime a relationship becomes toxic, it is because it is imbalanced with its opposite sign, which is Aries, that rules the self. So toxic relationships always begin with our disconnect to self. And it's more than just, oh, you know, I just don't know myself. We are all on some level conditioned out of being connected to ourselves. If you were raised in modern day society, colonialized society, whatever, on some level, we're taught by society, you know, that being connected to self is not a real thing. You know, there's nothing you can really derive from that. And here's how. So the disconnection starts from the separation of the spirit from a person's body, right? When you separate the spirit from the body of a person, you begin to not value the role that spirit plays in the essence of who we actually are, let alone recognize that spirit is real and spirit actually exists. So this creates a society where everyone is assumed to conform and fit this kind of mold of what is socially accepted and, okay within a given environment. What happens when you recognize a person as an actual spirit with a body is that you gain a newfound respect for energy and things that are felt but not seen. Because when we understand that someone is a spirit operating a body, it's completely different from just knowing someone as being, a body. When we recognize the spirit of that person and you allow yourself to connect with the energy that is you, right? So when we know that we're spirits in operating bodies, we understand that we aren't this physical material, that we are much more intangible. We're a spark into existence. And so there's a lot of feeling in there. So it's important to connect ourselves to this unseen spiritual energy so that we do not fall into the trap of being confused by the projections that come up within other people in our relationships, projecting onto people. And see, this is the thing where people really get caught up, and this is where the toxicity within relationships begin, right? So it's birthed from not understanding energy, right? Not understanding and respecting energy, right? And the spirit is what births the energy, and that's Aries, right? And to be able to share that energy with other people, that's where you come into Libra. So this is where the projections come in. So what is a projection? This term is thrown around a lot. People talk about this a lot. Projections are when we see someone in the way that we choose to see them based off of the state our spirit is in. So projections can be devilish or they can be divine. They're ultimately a mirror for us to see ourselves more clearly in. Projections and projecting get a very bad rap, as if, doing it is something wrong or immoral, right? And I want to remind you all that our eyes are literally seeing this reality in the same way that people watch movies when they go to the movie theater, through the projector screen, right? In order for us to see anything, we have to project. And this is why Aries rules the eyes, because this is the beginning of being able to see. In order for us to see, there has to be a projection for us to see. So we're projecting all the time. This is how we see. And projecting is the way that we're able to, perceive our reality and create a perspective of our reality. So this is why it's really important to now understand that when we are secure within self, our projections are a lot different versus when we are insecure within self. So when we project based on our insecure self, this is basically where the toxicity in relationships begin and is birthed from, right? And so this was a tough one for me to grasp within my relationship, because when you're in a toxic relationship with someone, or a relationship that's very painful, agonizing, and it's just a lot of emotions there, dense emotions there, we have a tendency to be like, you did this, you. And it's really good to recognize people for where they're at and who they are. But at the end of the day, we are responsible for what it is that we are creating. And if someone is consistently operating with you in a certain way or delivering you a certain energy, this is where you come into that Aries Libra dynamic, where you begin to understand yourself better, become more secure in yourself, and also find a way to harmonize that with other people. So when you project based on an insecurity within yourself or disconnect within self, this is where the toxic projections come up. So what this looks like is, so when you do see something that you don't like in someone, ask yourself, do you ruminate on that thing that you don't like? Do you focus on that thing that you don't like? Are you triggered? So are you triggered? What's coming up? And whatever that is that's coming up, do you see it as a challenge or an opportunity to better yourself in certain areas? Or are you using it as an opportunity to tear that other person down, or using it as an opportunity to project what it is that you are creating, or what is coming up for you onto that person? So keep in mind, when I'm talking about these projections, I'm not talking about them in a way that is bypassing obvious, things that is coming up. Like, if somebody is treating you a certain way, that's really happening. Like, it's not just a figment of your imagination. You're not just, projecting, like some people like to spiritually bypass and say the projection is actually the movie that's happening in your life. It's a real occurrence. So the projection is a real happening. So don't bypass it like, oh, it's not really there, it'll just go away. No, this is real things that are coming up for you. So the best thing to do in those moments is get into that Aries energy, get into that bold, fiery energy. Be bold and accept the challenge and the opportunity that trigger is bringing you to integrate more into yourself and into who you actually are. So basically, instead of focusing on how horrible this person is being to you, focus on what you're actually doing to create this toxic dynamic between you and this person, and how you can shift your own energy to change the dynamic of the relationship into actually connecting to you and who you are and what you want to see in your reality. So that's the beginning, right? And so when we actually begin to project from our secure self, our self that is connected to our spirit, that is fully aware of our spirit and what our spirit is communicating to us, we're able to play with life and see hurdles that come up as our way or as an opportunity for growth. So when someone is triggering you, you don't project and blame them, right? So you don't blame them as your form of projecting. You self-connect in those moments and tap into who you truly are, with no care as to how another person will receive it. Now remember, okay, because some of y'all will take what I just said and say, I'm not supposed to care how you receive me. Well, when you are operating from a secure self, people are going to receive you well because you're well, right? If you're not insecure within self and you're expressing, people are going to receive you in that unwellness, right? And they're going to feel that. So basically what I'm getting at here is I'm not giving y'all excuses to curse people out, go off and, be wild and crazy, right? So they're like the wild and crazy Aries energy. I'm not giving you permission to just be careless. What I'm giving you permission to do is be tactful. You want to express in a way that is secure within self. So is an insecure person, or I would say, is a secure person going to react in certain ways to certain things? A secure person usually has a pretty level energy. They're usually level. Yes, they can have an intensity, but it's not crazy. It's not all over the place. It's not like blowing stuff up. So when you self-connect and you tap into who you really are, and you allow another person to receive that, remember that being secure within yourself also means being secure within your spirit. So who it is that you actually are, what you're feeling, what your state, your spiritual state, and be able to recognize how connected you are or how disconnected you are. So embody that connection with spirit. Allow that unique connection you have with your own spirit. And when you're connected to your spirit, this also means that you are secure in either your feminine energy or your masculine energy. Because as spirits, we come with a certain frequency, right? It's spinning either in a masculine spin or a feminine spin. So a lot of people say, oh, we have both masculine and feminine, but energetically, spiritually, and this can be measured using electromagnetic devices, that feminine spirits spin in one direction, masculine spirits spin in the opposite direction. So being connected to your feminine energy or your masculine energy, if you're a woman, your feminine energy; if you're a man, your masculine energy, and also knowing that that is a big part of you being secure within yourself, is being secure within that energy. So how to heal the divine feminine when you get into a toxic relationship and you have a kind of wounded feminine energy coming out of it, or transitioning from that relationship maybe into a new relationship, or just coming into that transitioning period. How do you heal the divine feminine within you? Because for me, my feminine energy was definitely wounded afterwards. There's a diminishment of self-worth. Some level of your self-worth was taken from you because of what you allowed to happen to you, to experience in your reality, what you allowed yourself to experience in your reality. And so from that space of a depleted sense of self, a depleted sense of self-worth, how do you heal that so that you can come into fully loving yourself, fully embracing your worth, and allowing love and men to actually come into your life and uplift you, value you, spoil you, treat you like how it is you dream to be treated? So what it really taught me being in a toxic relationship really taught me in my life was how deeply betrayal had to do with the theme of why I felt my relationships were unfulfilling. And it was as if no matter what I did, emotionally, these relationships could never really measure up to what I really wanted. And this is important because within that, I also realized that my sacral chakra, which is the beginning of where your feminine energy emanates, which is located right in your womb space. So basically in your womb and in the waters of your existence, this energy becomes imbalanced, or really it was imbalanced to begin with. It was already imbalanced previous to you even entering into a toxic relationship. And activating your sacral chakra is more than just being creative and having fun and enjoying pleasures, right? Because sometimes when it's imbalanced, it can also be imbalanced in the excess. You can be focusing too much on receiving pleasure. It can be like a type of escapism, using your sexual energy and even promiscuity to fulfill this different kind of sensation that you're actually looking for. And my sacral was imbalanced. And that was a big reason for my hurt and my pain. And instead of pleasure and erotic experiences being the theme of my relationships, it all starts with being able to see through your projections that we talked about earlier, and where you're actually betraying yourself, where you are not allowing yourself to really be and exude who you really are. And the reason for the toxic relationship is to get you closer to understanding yourself and who it is that you really are and what it is you really came here to experience. So we betray ourselves before we even get into these toxic relationships. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's something that we chose because we wanted something bigger. We wanted something better. We knew that. And in order to get that, we had to experience the actual occurrence of other people betraying us as a reflection of our own amnesia to who it is that we are as women, what we really want. So, where are you betraying yourself? And how can you flip the switch to actually loving and honoring and being truly intimate with yourself, right? I'm not talking about masturbating when you feel it, like when you feel like it, right? Let's go beyond that. Yes, I don't not condone it, but let's go beyond that. Let's go beyond that spiritual sexual intimacy. So the pain that you feel from these toxic relationships and the receptors of the pain, it lets you know where you've gone wrong with you and where you have betrayed you and where you have allowed yourself to enter into zones and spaces that are not really you. And you may have thought they were you because of, what you have been conditioned to think is you from society, from your environment, from programming. But being able to relax into the truth of who you really are and create pleasure in that truth is why toxic relationships are plaguing so many women today. It's because we've been memory wiped. Now understand, I'm talking about memory. Sacral rules water. The womb is representing the water. This is a water planet that we live on. The waters rule memory. So we've been memory wiped. All right, and this goes deep. This goes deep because it's beyond you just having a bad day and forgetting who you are. This whole entire realm is remembering who they are again, who they really are again. After, after a millennia of being completely memory wiped, right? So we've been memory wiped as a divine feminine, and how to actually move and be in the fullest capacity of honoring ourselves is remembering who we are again and operating within that memory, feeling in that memory. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that everything that I shared today really impacted you and moved you in some way, and maybe it will be the catalyst to you transforming your relationships and coming into your full goddess energy. I am doing free lightning self-love coaching calls again. I was doing this at the beginning of the year. Now I'm opening up my slots to doing these again. So if you're interested in getting a free lightning self-love coaching call in exchange for answering a few questions that I might have for you, make sure you message me on Instagram. Send me a DM. Let me know that you're interested in my free lightning self-love coaching calls. So everything that I've shared with you guys thus far is a part of what I like to call the Lilith code. And the Lilith code is an ancient, deep, primordial feminine essence that recalibrates our genetics to understanding and remembering how to operate in this realm as a feminine being, as a woman, in a way that puts us in complete authority over our lives, that puts us in our feminine magnetism, and also allows us to be at home in our bodies and at home in our feeling and in being and feeling into what it means to be a woman.